It's interesting going back down because it's very good out for the most part. And I think a lot of it just just bought what I was thinking about buying. Yeah, but looking at photos, it's always go back to that number I'm looking at these years again. It's always the little.
Hi, Scott.
Oh my God, Erickson.
How are you?
Good. Well, I mean, that was like a reactionary response.
As best as you can be doing, right?
Yeah, you want to come over and talk? I think they're
I still have those pants.
Yeah.
Computer's here.
So I just don't know if he went during college as well, if he just was working there. I wish he was there after college. Then he got it. He actually said he was a co-op intern and he was back in like 98 and just realized it probably wasn't for him. You do remember? Yeah. Whatever it was, DPO, yeah, it's kind of keeps flip-flopping, you know, it's really. Wow.
You remember, don't you? Kind of. It's been about 4 years.
Yeah, I can't keep track of like, are you evaluating?
Almost every Friday. These guys are really old. And you're 8? I don't know, 10? You're 10? Okay.
He's going. He's catching up. Where's all of these? The other way around. If we box him now, but they're shutting me down.
I don't know if you remember, we used to serve in, so we just had a blank because, we also did some. So, you guys want to ride with a couple other kiddos or your size and your age?
There's a book side scenario.
You guys can come with us. We're probably not fast. We probably bring that all I didn't know what to expect when they going to have this season.
Really?
It's like the past like 4 months.
Oh, you're look at your dress. Oh, I saw this one.
So when school starts, you'll be ready.
So yeah.
Comes fast.
Yeah, whenever we go you guys get a minute. It's almost about 3 minutes. You guys get a minute just to get a
Even their wedding.
Was that picture on YouTube?
You don't.
Yeah, whenever you do the video, you stop and
Very youthful looking.
maybe you're just racist.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not 8'9".
So when he sleeps, when he gets up,
changed and the last mile this is called mile of silence, and they have stars with hundreds or thousands of pictures of kids who passed away. And so you go from that mile of silence, and then when you cross the finish line, your wish kid does another run. They can't do it, their parents do it. We only, if I'd been there, we only. We have no way of knowing what else is I got a hunch that Roland's going to be if that's possible. Tim and Jim, the other teammates, are out of the hospital.
Good job.
Go down. They had to be on the far side of the road. I get the feeling that Roland and Ed and Mike were probably closer to the center if she came around.
Yeah, I believe Roland was number one.
Yeah, well, yeah. We have in biking, we have something called the Ride of Silence, and it's now all over the world. But it started in Texas with a guy who was a professional long distance racer. Either of a truck or a bus, but you know how big those are. And it was
Yeah, I think
Detroit. Even the door. Remember when Craig Gates got this a couple years ago? Right? So if somebody opens their door just along one, it can kill you. Craig was fortunate that he went over the door, but if you hit that horse there,
He was on the bike.
yeah. And he was inside. He was blind from his armpit to his waist. But you know, you're even 15 miles an hour, which isn't that fast. But if all of a sudden you hit something, you're totally. Yeah, you hit that wall at 15 miles an hour, it's going to do some damage.
Oh, he did? Yeah. So
Well, that makes sense.
we both went to one apartment.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't follow it. She was just born yesterday morning at 4:35 in the morning. That's where we went. So you could go to lunch with Andy and go meet her. Yeah, Lawrence told me that. We used to live. So what else do you have? Why you like that? Wesley, where to get all your insurance? Oh my God. Our son played saxophone. We're not. Got it.
Make an appointment.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry.
crisis of conscience here. Like, this was based on this, right? Like, they didn't like but like that was but we got Peter Powell. Right now,
ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. If we'd like to start finding a seat, that way we can bring some more chairs in for the folks that haven't been able to find a seat yet. If there is an empty seat next to you, we ask that you do move in toward the aisles. That way, other folks that are looking for seats can find one inside. We'll be getting ready to start our services in about 10 minutes. Thank you. For those of you that are waiting to sign the guest books, there is a guest book toward the back. However, we will remain gathering after the service. So you may sign a guest book after the services. Thank you very much. If we could keep that back door clear, please. That way our staff can start bringing in more chairs for all of you that are standing. I really appreciate your help. Once again, if we could keep that back door clear so our staff can start to bring in more chairs. Thank you.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. As we gather, if we can make sure that we all take out our cell phones and make sure that they're on silent or turned off. It does look like we have a few seats that are up here on this side. If we could have the people standing in the back, please take a seat here. That way more people that are in the lobby can can fill in the back. We have a lot of love and a lot of people in this room today. We would like to make sure that everybody has a seat if they can. Thank you. All right, as we get settled, we are going to kind of go over what the program looks like today. Thank you. I'm going to go silence the music.
Sure. Hello, everyone. We have 3 speakers planned. 3人スピーチがあります。We kind of planned for the speeches to be intentionally short because we do have young kids that we don't want to keep with our adult level of pontification. So if the speeches feel short, it was intentional for looking out for the children. And we're starting a little bit early. I was just gonna introduce our plan, but I mean, I don't, if Ed's all right with being on time, we can start early. I just also want to extend apologies to anybody it's like standing room only, but we're also not surprised. Like, we tried to get the biggest venue we could because we knew like Ed was going to be like a queen's funeral. Like, I'm just so grateful to see all of the people that knew Ed coming, like, to honor his legacy and support the family. So let's let me compose myself for just a second. We have three speakers today. Our first speaker is going to be Kevin Duncan. I'm gonna follow up after Kevin, and then our good friend, the venerable Marcus Tommy, is going to go third. So Kevin, in the infinite wisdom and compassion that I've learned he has in such a short time here, has agreed to do the hardest part, which is to kind of start us off. And for those of you that may not know Kevin, because we have a lot of Ed's circles here, Kevin was not only a good friend at work, but they were also bicycle friends together, like traveling for the last over a decade and more. So there's an immense closeness that Kevin and Ed shared, and I can't wait to hear what Kevin has to share here. So if you're I'm as ready as I can be. I'm not sure how you're feeling, but do you feel up to the task here? I'm ready. I'm gonna leave. I'm actually gonna bring a box of tissues over. Here we go. So we got some tissues ready, and I'll give you the floor here, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you for being the preamble and breaking the ice. Okay, there's a lot of people in this room. Thank you everyone for coming. So, thank you everyone for coming today to celebrate Ed. This week has been challenging for us all, but the Erickson family is heartened and deeply grateful to see the outpouring of love and support by so many here and abroad. I'm also honored to have the opportunity here before you to celebrate his life and legacy. Ed was passionate, earnest, kind, and generous. He cared deeply about his wife, his children, family, friends, community, and coworkers. Hopefully you had a chance to share stories and fond memories about his qualities of character here today. Ed loved biking ever since he was a kid. He enjoyed both riding and building bikes. He rode here. He rode in Japan. He rode year-round in the ice and snow. He enjoyed riding for Make-A-Wish, training for months and diligently fundraising to help children with life-threatening illnesses realize a dream they had. Saturday nights at the Make-A-Wish, it warmed our hearts at the whammies to hear stories about children and realized wishes. Many children's wish was to simply give something back to their parents for all the love and care their parents had given them. It was an opportunity to connect with families and make the experience meaningful. And while it was a joyous occasion, there was also solemn moments for those who had passed on. Saturday nights at the Whammies was where we laughed, cried, and slept soundly knowing that Sunday was the last 100 miles till we went home. As we all know, this past Saturday was different. When I received news about Ed from Make-A-Wish, I was stunned and with a heavy heart reached out to the family through Dan Lim. We all grieve and deal with loss in our own unique way. For me, I loaded up, numb and fuzzy-headed, to the trail to reflect. Others later commented that they did the same. Heading out on the highway to the trailhead, I flagged a driver down after noticing their tire smoking due to lost pressure. They thanked me and assured me someone was coming to help change it. They did not need any assistance. I carried on to the trailhead. I rode. I cried. I talked with Ed as he rode along with me.
Side note, I do not recommend trail riding while crying. Perhaps I'll make a safety commitment about it. So later that week, while sorting through some of the photos here for the memorial, I paused on one of us helping someone fix a flat tire, Ed and I together. Of all the photos of Ed, the smiling faces, relaxing, resplendent with a beer after a long day riding, the triumphant finish on Sundays, this grainy, askew photo of us summed everything up. Maybe you saw it on the reel today as well. Ed understood they were part of a fabric. By selflessly helping others, he helped weave and keep that fabric together. He was a caring soul that wouldn't hesitate to help someone in need. He poured into others, expecting nothing in return. Maybe the driver on the highway was a reminder from Ed to keep our heads up and not lose focus on those in need. Several people I spoke with this week, unprompted, echoed the sentiment. A few had only met him for the first time recently, and he jumped in either at work or on the trail to help them fix a problem. He routinely went out of his way to either help fix or educate so that we could do our best. I'm sure many of you shared one of those moments this week with a friend or coworker. Today, I invite you to carry that forward, to carry on Ed's legacy. Care about people around you and those in need. Use your unique gifts to be in service to others as Ed was. Be generous with your heart, your resources, and your time. I also invite you to continue support of the Erickson family as they begin their next step in their journey. Many have signed up to help with handy person work, car, and bike maintenance. If you live in the area and would like to support, please contact me and I'll get you added to the list. There's also a Facebook group Scott has set up for sharing social activities with the family so they can have an opportunity to attend. Other opportunities are evolving and we'll be in touch soon. And on behalf of the family, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for the meals, emotional support, and generous donations to Rena and Yuto's educational fund. The family is deeply moved and grateful for all the kindness, empathy, generosity, and love. To Yukari, Rena, Yuto, Don, and Mary, Ed was a dear friend. He impacted many lives. It warms my heart today, seeing all of those affected well up with so much love and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I think you'll find my speech echoes a lot of those sentiments, which is a testament to us that had the pleasure of seeing how Ed lived his life. Just a moment. Konnichiwa. Eastern Michigan Daigaku Tomodachi TTC TMC TMNA Team Associates. Jitensha Hitotachi Go Kazoku Minasan Yoroshiku Onegai shimasu. Edo Erickson さんの日本語は本当にペラペラでしょう。でも私は最後の日本語を話すときに多分15年ぐらいかかります。I think that was wrong. 本当に私の日本語は子供みたいです。でも大丈夫ですよ。エンドルー・ギルマンさんは僕の友達です。私の英語と日本語が何か質問があったら、エンドリーさんに質問してください。Sorry, Andy. Is Andy here? Okay. Just email him. こちらから英語をしましょう。Sorry, everybody. I promise I didn't say anything bad about you. Thank you so much for being here. I I'd like to start with Ed's like unique path to TTC, starting around 1997. My aunt, my mom's brother's ex-wife, my aunt Azida Azadi, she worked at TTC, and when I was graduating from EMU, she told me about the internship program, which was a good fit for what I was graduating for. So she put me in touch with like the HR group. So soon after that, I became the DPO intern at TTC. Demo hontou ni komatta ne. It didn't work out. Actually, let me come clean. I didn't work out. You see, it was my first job, and I didn't know anything about work ethic. I wore a Red Wings jersey to work, Fedorov. I didn't cut my hair, which I think I don't have to prove. I showed up late. I played video games at my desk, and I may have even had a questionable browser history. So basically, I was a college student in a cubicle. I didn't even succeed managing the DPO cars. Like I thought they were for like engineering purposes, and everybody was like, "I'm going on vacation this weekend. Can I take the GS400?" I was like, "No," and then I learned, yeah, actually they are everybody's vacation cars, and I was doing a bad job. But I think I've grown since then, and Ed's a big part of that. So like, while my path was taking this different course, I told TTC, like, I really know a guy that I think, could just you just got to meet him, and the rest is history. Ed and I met in middle school. There's a lot of friends here, going all the way back even to elementary school. From that point on, like, there really wasn't anything that Ed and I weren't a part of for each other. I mean, he was so embedded in my life that losing him, it's like I'm learning what he meant to me because we were too busy just being close. As we went through school, I was kind of the academic one. I could learn Japanese without really trying, but Ed had to really study, and you kind of heard things like Scott's going to be the one to make it, but I missed something that Ed had, which is that vision. The man always had a plan. He was the one that said, let's go to EMU together, and why don't we be roommates? So we lived together all through college, and he was like, are you doing anything this summer? Let's just go to Japan. Even things like, let's go up to Sylvan Mountain and get college credit for skiing and taking poetry class. These were the kinds of opportunities you got, being in Ed's vicinity. It wasn't long before I knew that Ed was the most likely of us to be on the cover of Forbes. Something like saving $1 billion 1 penny at a time. I still maintain to this day that would have happened had Ed lived longer. Ed effortlessly navigated life. He just brought excellence and value to everything he was a part of, and he was a leader of so many communities. Friends, school, work, bicycling, international travel. But his biggest skill was his heart. If he was a Pokemon, his power would be everything in 100 feet of him would just get better. He always had a plan, and he always had the heart, and he made everything he touched organized, clear, fun, successful, and wonderful. He was forming a new relationship with his impatience towards the end of life, and it bothered him. He talked to me about it, and I was like, you're under a lot of pressure, but find ways to just soften. So if you've ever been in a meeting and you saw him say we need something, and he pressed, we were talking about it, and he he didn't want to be that way. So please, in his honor, forgive him for those moments. I extend the credit for who Ed was to his parents. Don and Mary Jane, they're only a few months ago from obtaining their 55-year marriage milestone. They're the two best parents that I think I've ever seen. You did a great job. You made visiting College Park like a second home for me. Memories that I'll carry with me always. You didn't deserve this tragedy. It's completely unfair, but we're with you in solidarity. Ed's candle burned short, but it burned bright and it illuminated so many lives. I had the honor of meeting Yukari in Japan with Ed. Like most things in life, Ed was certain he met the person he's supposed to be with immediately. I wasn't entirely sure how Yukari felt. Yeah. Yeah, at the CK Cafe. Yeah, that was the name of it. Yeah, the dance. Until she told me recently she waited 1 hour for Ed to arrive on her first date. And I bet you believe it. Yeah, were you early? Yeah, that's the question on the floor. We were actually going to bring Ed's ashes in late, but we thought the joke might be not in the best taste, so we didn't do it. But I knew I was witnessing something special, and I had to help. Like the time I politely excused Ed from a conversation he started with the Kyoto Yakuza boss. His name was Kuma, which means bear in Japanese, and so we lived to tell about it. And then, after we met Yukari, it wasn't long after we found Kyo, and then Rena, and the Yuto. Yukari, I am certain one of the last 8 days has been the worst day of your life, but you handle it with so much strength. Ed's love and our love for Ed built a community around you, and we're going to do our best to help. My wife is also not born in America, and I think if I was the one that died, like Ed would be the one doing this. So we're going to continue the community support in Ed's honor and his legacy. So there will be more to come. Rena, you inherited Ed's mind, Yukari's strength, and the family's heart. Life might be confusing for you because you're so intelligent. Choosing to observe the world is a good strategy, and if you ever figure it out, let us know. You'll likely effortlessly excel, but remember, it's not always about achieving. You want to have fun and enjoy it, as you go. Be sure to make what you need part of the equation. Make decisions by X plus what Rena needs equals Y, not just X equals Y. Also remember, sometimes rules are suggestions. Like we talked about, sometimes it's August 3rd and sometimes it's August 4th, but maybe tomorrow's August 48th. And sometimes a firefly is really a Bud Light bug. Yuto, you asked me a question I need to share with everybody. You shared with me that one person dies every 3 seconds. But how is it possible for everybody to be supported like this? Yuto continued, if Barry Sanders died, would he get this much support? I tried to explain, your dad's really special. You see, Ed was fluent in both English and Japanese, but Ed knew a secret. Like, we all have our own language, and Ed worked so hard to learn, like, our individual language. And Ed's real native language, as Kevin alluded to, were compassion, kindness, and generosity. Yuto, spread your wings. And I do mean both wings. Like, we know you're the Heisman winning running back. But I've also heard you sing, and I know, I see. We're going to enjoy watching what you achieve. When it comes to grief, our minds can convince us it's going to feel this way forever. I want to use the metaphor of having a cold. When we have a cold, we can't remember what it feels like to not have a cold. And then when the cold goes away, we can't remember what it felt like to have the cold. But while we have the cold, we feel like it's never going to end. I had a real hard time in college once, and my friend Jay Dabrico, he told me something that kind of changed my life. He was like, you know that pit in your stomach right now? Like, that goes away. And I was just completely shocked because I thought it would be there forever. Ed will remain in our hearts, and in his honor, let's try to remember that maybe our best days are still ahead. Our bones get older, sometimes our bank accounts take a hit, sometimes we lose family. But you get through it by expanding your heart. The more you open your heart, the more amazing things come towards you. I want to share just a little bit about grief. There's a psychology to grief that it comes in 5 stages, but they don't have an order. There's denial. My first 2 days, this can't possibly be true. There's anger. Anger is when we show up for ourselves because something is wrong. There's bargaining. Why couldn't it have been me instead? There's depression, which hasn't come yet, and there's acceptance, which hasn't come yet. But if you're experiencing any of these 5 emotions, congratulations, you're human. So I've created a license to feel that I'm going to distribute to the family as I introduce Marcus after these closing words. And by the way, it's a license that never expires. I plan to follow Ed's example and change some things about myself. First of all, to get more healthy. I mean, gosh, Ed. Second, to learn Ed's language of friendship and to carry that torch and become closer to Ed's families, multiple families. Third, to be able to open my heart as wide as Ed showed me is possible. I didn't know that language until I lost Ed. I invite you to please honor Ed's legacy by continuing the great job of supporting the family, Yukari, Rena, Yuto, Don, Mary Jane, and also Kyo. Edo-san, Yasuraka ni onemuri kudasai. Gome fuku o onori shimasu. I forgot to warn Marcus, I'm going to be a wreck. But Marcus, if you can please make your way to the podium. We're ready to hear your words.
Kite Kite. I thought I was going to be the comedy relief. Thank you to both Kevin and Scott for their words. Very well done. My name is Marcus Tommy, and I'm a longtime friend of Ed's, fraternity brother. I don't want to turn this into a rambling best man wedding speech, so I'm just going to read from my notes. So bear with me. My son, Dean, watches Thomas the Train like it's his job. And there's a catchy tune that he plays quite often called Accidents Happen. Sorry. Accidents, unplanned events, and tragedies are a fact of life. Growing old is a fact of life. And accidents will happen. Accidents like the one that took Ed. Far too soon. And his writing partner, far too soon, away from us, happen. Which is why we have to play the memories from our hearts and our heads. Memories like when we had our shark party and Ed gave us his legal advice. We were throwing our standard fraternity party where we found an 8-foot paper mache great white shark in the garbage and thought it would be a good idea to put it out on the front lawn so everyone knew where the party was. And we put Visqueen on the windows so the cops couldn't see us. Like we thought that was a good idea. So Ed, rightfully so, asked us, "What are you guys doing?" Sterling Heights, Japan, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti, 801 Congress. Each of us have special memories of Ed and memories that are more important to us than many others. Ed and I worked at Bavarian Village in Ann Arbor, and we would take day trips to Boyne Mountain to go snowboarding in his Xterra. And we would leave at 5 in the morning to try and get there bright and early for first tracks. And Ed was always looking out for us. He would give us a multivitamin. Sounds like you know what I'm talking about. Well, that was the first time in my life I ever learned that I could write my name in the snow with fluorescent urine. Yukari, you and I had a very eventful meeting the first time at 801 Congress. Ed lived in apartment number 1, which was across the hallway from me in apartment 2. And Dinesh was in apartment 3. We love you, Dinesh. And I was one of the first people to meet Yukari when she came over from Japan. I know neither one of us will forget that encounter. Ed and I and a few of us went to Europe in 2003 and snowboarded in the French Alps. Still one of the greatest, dudes foreign trip of my life. And some have heard the story that Ed and I went out to the discotheque in Brussels very late, and we had to catch the train, of course, very early. So spoiling the details, needless to say, Ed wasn't feeling too well on the 10-hour train ride. And I have all this on video somewhere. And when I say video, I mean like a literal 8mm video camera. You guys probably don't know what that is, but I work at Detroit Metro Airport, and we're a big Asian hub with Delta and previously with Northwest. So during our hours-long train ride up to the French Alps, Ed and Fuji taught me how to speak Japanese to our Japanese passengers. It was very specific, and well, they taught me a lot of I won't mention right now. But he taught me how to tell Japanese passengers how to go outside and smoke, you know, because you have the language barrier, of course, and when someone walks up to you and just kind of goes like this, well, what do I do? So they taught me how to say, koko kara, well, wait, no. It's, sotte tobacco o suete negashimasu. Koko kara migi ni magate maso ite 2 分 gurai kakarimasu. 2 分. And it was such a good feeling to be able to tell somebody in their language how they desperately wanted to find a place to go and have a cigarette. It's the small things in life. Over the last several years, I would ask Ed to come to my house and bring his little Hitachi pancake compressor, little air compressor, to help me blow out my sprinkler system in the fall. I never told Ed I have my own compressor. And it was probably me playing dumb because it was an excuse to see him and to have a beer and hang out. These memories and loops of videos, I can see them playing in my head over and over again. Imagine those videos in your mind and picture those memories. They will stay with us, which is part of who we are. That is part of who we are. As Kevin and Scott have said, Ed was a very passionate, loving, and caring person. We all know that. He loved his family and his friends. It's been amazing to see all of you. Thank you for being here in support of honoring Ed. The pain of hearing this is too familiar. 26 years of memory begins flashing back, and I realize that I had seen Ed just a week before it happened. We have all lost a person who met the definition of kind, brilliant, funny, and brave. If you're like me and find yourself grieving, remember the moments in time that he made us happy. While we laughed uncontrollably at the corniest jokes, we're proud because he was someone that stood up for what he believed in and wanted to help others. Our lives cross paths for a reason. All our lives cross paths for a reason. And I'm a better person because of it. And I know he would say the same about you. We love you, Edo. You'll be missed very dearly and never forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This does conclude our services for today. Thank you for the support for the Erickson family and friends and co-workers and colleagues. The amount of people in this room really indicates how how much love is in the room for Ed. We will continue to gather here a little bit longer. Thank you again for joining us, and continue to share that love with each other in the days and weeks to come. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.